What's going on, people? Welcome back to Premier League Unpacked episode 35. As you all know, it was the FA Cup weekend last week, so we kind of missed the episode of Premier League Unpacked and we brought it to you this week and launched FA Cup Unpacked. But people, we're here. There's a lot to talk about. Let me introduce my guest first of all. We got my man on the right-hand side of me. I don't know if he's on the left of you or the right of me or whatever it might be, but it's Gooner Lee. What you telling me, my bro? You good?
Listen, big up to everyone on the panel. I want to say a special happy Monday to my guy, my Tottenham guy down there, Patrick. I'm very infused, and listen, we're gonna get into it. But big up to everyone else, man. I'm bearing gifts today. I'm bearing gifts, man.
Say no more. A happy Lee is a good Lee, you know what I mean? Patrick, what you telling me, bro? You good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Thank
I'm
you.
annoyed.
Thank
I'm annoyed
you.
that you lot. Yeah, you know what? I said it on Twitter. It's annoying. All these Arsenal fans in my DMs saying, "Oh, just do your job, make sure you win." I'm like, I hate this. I hate that it had to be us, and I hate that it had to be City. Obviously, how things unfolded, it was good for us, even better for you lot. Annoyed, but yeah, I'm good, man. It's good space, feeling good. Good win yesterday. Harry Kane, we get onto it. So yeah, annoyed that I helped you lot, but we had to do what we had to do, I guess.
So all of that, I want to lose if it's going to stop Arsenal. That went in the bin then, did it? Real fast, real quick.
When we lost to you lot at home, because I was banking on that, because typically we always beat you lot at our ground. And then obviously after that, we needed the points, and then everyone else getting points. Man United continuing to win. Newcastle, they dropped points, but they haven't lost the game. So yeah, we had to do it for ourselves, unfortunately. Hopefully there's enough games for you lot to slip up. We just got to look after ourselves right now.
Say no more. Let you carry on hating, fam. But look, people, we have a new regular on the show, Bilal, aka DSG. He joined us on the FA Cup Unpack show. This is his first Premier League Unpack show. So make sure you be kind, even though he's a United fan. But big up yourself, Bilal. What you telling me, bro? You good?
What's good, bro? Think I'm feeling the best out of everyone this weekend. The Gooners are all right. They got let off the hook, but I think yeah, I'm feeling good, man.
That's why I put you and Patrick at the bottom there so you can hold hands down there, you know what I mean? But look, people, as you can see, Bish is not here just yet. Obviously, he is due to have a baby very soon, so he's had to be called to the hospital to go and have a few checks and so on. But look, I've tried to get a City replacement, but they're all in hiding at the moment. They're all in hiding, and the reason for that is we're going to have to talk about it straight away. The big news that landed today, that Manchester City have been charged. And the statement goes, the Premier League has charged Manchester City with more than 100 breaches of its financial fair rules. Following a 4-year investigation, it has referred the club to an independent commission over alleged rules breaches between 2009 and 2018. It also accused City of not cooperating since the investigation started in December 2018. It's a mad one. I'm going to come to you first, Bilal, because you are a United fan. How are you feeling hearing all of this news about your closest rivals, meaning 6 miles apart from each other? What are you telling me about him, man?
It felt like it's been a long time coming, to be honest, bro. When you just see the way City elevated from what a mid-table club to what they are now, what everyone considers, even though they've never won a Champions League, everyone considers them best team in Europe. Every year they say, what them, PSG or Real Madrid say, best team in Europe right now. And yeah, it feels like the time's coming, but they've got off the hook already with UEFA, haven't they, in the past? So
I think that was down to Thingy though as well. It being a bit of a time cap that I was obviously reading about with the Premier League. There's no time cap, so they can backtrack it as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's been 4 years of this now, and it could be another 2-3 years before any punishment is assigned to them. I mean, Juve just all the shit they've done. 15 points. Yeah, it's damaging for that season. I mean, there's a lot of people talking about City might get expulted from the Premier League. That is not going to happen. It's too costly for the Premier League to lose a team like Man City. They ain't going to do that. They'll probably give them a points deduction. If it's this season, does it really matter? I mean, Arsenal already pretty much running away with it. The damage has already been done. All the previous seasons, how close Liverpool came. I'm not going to count the recent year where United finished second because we weren't in that race. But the first 2-3 years, what was it, 12, 13, 13, 14, where they pipped it by a point, the Aguero goal. we had it taken off us them years. Them three years Liverpool finished about a point off. They had it taken off them. I mean, I'd rather City win it than Liverpool, but when you look at it from a fair point of view, it's been a long time coming. But what are they actually going to do about it? That's the point here. Is there going to be a proper punishment enforced?
But this is what I was going to say. There might be a situation where they might set an example. They might put him down to League Two. You never know, Thomas. You see what happens, bro.
So, I don't know. I just feel like no one's. I mean, there's been a few point deductions for all this stuff, like over the last few years, different leagues, but no one's really had an example made of him. If anyone was going to have it made, wouldn't it have been Juve? Arguably one of the biggest teams in Serie A.
Yeah, I suppose so. But look, Lee, Arsenal, yeah. As an Arsenal fan myself, yeah, I don't want no point deductions taken this year off Man City. When we win the league this season, I want it to be nobody having to any excuse to say, "Oh, you went clear because City dropped points," and so on and so on. How do you feel about the situation with City at the moment?
Yeah, look, I'm gonna be a hypocrite. When Liverpool were going through their situation with the whole COVID and the asterisks, I don't want it to have I don't want it to be a taint on our potential winning of titles. I think that we should have enough to beat them and beat them out to the title anyway. I think we should have enough to beat them at home, especially. And obviously, hopefully, we'll have enough to beat the other teams. So, yeah, look, like in terms of that, I would prefer, but it doesn't look like it will happen this season, as Bilal said anyway. So, yeah, look, I think if you're asking me in general about the allegations, it's a difficult one because for me, I look at it and I'm saying to myself, I can't prove anything. I can't say whether or not, but I think it's quite difficult to not have doubt around Man City because, as Bilal said before, they had an issue with the in the European European Committee. Obviously, CAS obviously has come and sort of saved them, which obviously is a problem in some people's eyes. But now today, they've got 100 things that they have been alleged to have done incorrect, which is absolutely mad. I think I read somewhere. Well, I actually did read it. They're one of the things that they've been alleged that their grass has been too long and stuff like that, which is mad. So there's a lot.
Wow, is that what's happening here, man? This grass is getting measured.
Yeah, grass has been too long. So like the low stuff that's coming out for them. So listen, I'm not going to say they've done anything because it's quite difficult for me to pinpoint. But when you got 100 things, I ain't gonna lie, it does not look good. 100 things is a lot. So when you deep it, 100 things is a lot. So listen, man, if they've been cheating, the book's gonna be thrown at them, innit?
Well, you know what? Yeah, when you take it all into account, I think City are being quite aware of this. This has been going on for a number of years, and this is why I don't think anything will happen this season because they're going to be fighting it and stuff like that. Man City have come out with a statement themselves, and as it reads, Manchester City FC is surprised by the issuing of the alleged breaches of Premier League rules, particularly given the extensive engagement and vast amount of detailed materials that the EPL has been provided with. So they're basically just saying there that they've given enough evidence forward, they put their case forward, and it looks like the Premier League haven't really taken it into account. So they are definitely going to be fighting it. I'm going to ask you, Patrick, now, where do you stand with Man City? Do you think they're guilty party in this, or do you think that everyone's trying to gang up on City over the last few years and trying to put stuff out there? Because there has been, you know, the case starting around the Portuguese geezer, the hacker, who actually brought it all to light. And that's why the UEFA actually started to investigate it and the Premier League just jumped on the back of it. Do you reckon City are going to get out of this mess?
The thing is, I'm torn, you know, because I'm like, I know City are guilty of breaking financial fair play and cooking the books and basically overinflating things to essentially buy more players and show they got bigger revenue. I mean, last year or this year, they showed that City had the biggest gross in whatever you want to look at it, above teams like Real Madrid, Man United, Arsenal, like massive European powerhouses that have been there for like day one. And it doesn't really make sense when, you know, you see them, they can't really fill their stadium. In terms of like, as a worldwide draw, they're not as big as the other teams. So how are they making more money than them? It just doesn't add up. But then when you look at it, I honestly believe that most teams do some sort of dodginess to a degree. But I do think that City have definitely, I mean, like there's cases of them basically having shell companies pay them and it turns out that the sheik owns these companies, and he's just basically pumping money in from one corporation to another to like basically fund this signing or that signing or pay, so they've been doing it from and like Bilal said, the way that they jumped, like their rise was just so meteoric, and they just jumped from like, I won't say a mid-table team, but they just it's crazy. So I definitely think they've been guilty of stuff. I do think a lot of teams do it. The way they've done it, it's obvious. UEFA have had their eye on them for a while, but they're so rich and so powerful. They're going to get the best lawyers, and nothing's going to happen this season anyway. It's going to drag out. It's going to take ages for it to come into play, and at most a points deduction and maybe a transfer embargo like what happened to Chelsea. I don't see them being stripped of any titles or anything like that, but it's not going to be anything that happens this season anyway, or it's going to take a while for it to come into play. So I don't think, and like you said, even for me, for the integrity of the league, I want to see the teams win it properly. So if Arsenal win it this year, let them win it properly. I don't want it to be like, oh, Arsenal were ahead, but now City have been stripped to 10 points. And I want to see teams do it properly. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, man, it's interesting, but do these things ever stick? So when I see these and read it, I'm just like, really, let's see what happens, man. Because more often than not, big teams always get out of it. They always get out of it. Barcelona were allegedly broke, weren't allowed to sign no players, and look how many players they brought in the summer. So, I believe it when I see it, kind of thing.
Do you know what? Yeah, I'm with you with all of that. This comment just got me laughing my head off. They got 99 problems and the grass is one. Yo, I'm telling you, what a comment, mate. What a comment. But look, like you touched on, other corporations, they were funding money from elsewhere and stuff. The Roberto Mancini's things come out where he was getting paid by two separate accounts, City and another company as well, which is mad. In football, there is corruption. That's the one thing that we know. There's definitely corruption in football. But 100 breaches, that is on a madness, bro. That is a madness. I can't see how man are going to get out of it. But then again,
do you know what,
best
though,
is...
Sorry, go on, sir, bro. Go on.
No, go on. Say what you're saying.
No, I was going to say, do you know what, though? Like, I think there's two sides that we have to pick up. And I think, we have to remember that all these kind of Man City representatives on YouTube are going to get in the neck from all the people in the comments. And at the end of the day, they support the club. They're not privy to these things. So I don't.
There's only 3 of them, fam. There's only 3 of them.
Listen, there are 3 of them, but those 3 are going to get it in the neck, and we need to make sure that they're not like chastised and that made to be looked as like they knew what was going on, because ultimately they didn't. Like, they just support their club from all the way back in League 2 when they were against Oldham and stuff. I think that's the first part, and then the second part of it is, they're going to say, Man City are going to keep saying, and Man City fans are going to say, everyone cheats, there's all corruption and stuff like that. But they need to understand this is not what we're talking about right now. There are so many things in the world that are wrong, but we still have enjoyment. We still kind of try and negate and, celebrate things when they needed to. But Man City, this is now the second time that they have been apparently caught doing incorrect things. And as you said, when it's 100 things in one actual kind of a big sentencing is absolutely crazy. Like, it's a madness.
Something's got to stick out of them 100
Something's going to stick. Yeah.
No, definitely. And you know what? They've gone very public with it, and normally it's kept under wraps until they've made a decision or whatnot. But it looks like the FA have come out and blatantly said that they've been charged. So you're expecting something to happen. I think Bilal's right. I don't think anything's going to happen anytime soon. I think it's going to be a situation where it could come to, I'd say, maybe a year and a half time. They've had their cases and stuff like that, and then maybe they could get a point deduction then. But this is going over a stretch of 14 years, bro. Just imagine they accumulate a points drop over 14 years and hit them with it, bro. That's going to be mad. That could put them into League 2. You know what I mean? That could do something crazy to Man City. And then if they are in a position like that, are they going to still be able to keep spending to get to a certain amount? Now, it makes sense. Since 2018, City haven't been splashing the cash, and everyone's been saying, you know what, City have been quite reserved with the way they're spending. Is because in the background, they've known that this is what's going to happen. They knew that this is what they were going to get hit with. So they tried to ease off it a little bit, probably tried to balance the books. But Patrick,
the damage was done as well.
Bro, definitely. The damage is definitely done in it. But at the same time, City, man, money talks and, bullshit walks, mate. So the lawyers that these guys are going to bring in, the Abu Dhabi lot, mate, they're going to be giving them probably 200 mil just to fight the case. So they're going to have the best lawyers on job.
I really do hope that they get bagged for something. As an fan, the annoyance that they've done with Adebayor, Sagna, Kalishi, like Nasri, bro. If they get done, I'll happily take that, bro. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'll happily take that.
Well, let's look at it now. Yeah, let's put a spin on it and say they did get relegated and they got dropped to, say, obviously the championship. I don't think they'll go below the championship, but say they did go into the championship. Where do they go from there then, Patrick? Are they still gonna? Obviously, it's more than likely gonna be able to come back up with the money that they've got and the players that they'll have. That they'll still be able to afford their wages. But do you reckon it'll have a proper detriment to the club and people's thinking of joining Man City just in case something like this happens again?
You know what? Football's so fickle and people have such short-term memories. If they did get relegated, and this is a big if, and I don't see it happening, I think the most you get is like a 10-point, 15-point deduction. But even then, a slap on the wrist. If they try and find Man City with the billions that the state own, is it really going to affect them? Not really. Do you know what I mean? So a transfer embargo and a points deduction is probably the biggest you could do to them. And even then, how long will that take for them to come into play? I have heard that if whatever they decide to do, they won't be able to appeal it. So that's actually quite interesting to hear. But
okay,
they would lose. They would lose obviously the big time players. But people like the youngsters and so essentially people like Kevin De Bruyne might not stick around, and guys that are like literally winding down their contract and looking to leave anyway. But they've got such a good crop of players that they'll be fine. They bounce back up, and then depending on how many windows that they've got an embargo on, they'll be fine, man. They'll be able to spend again, and before
but would a Pep be looking to play football in the Championship?
Yeah, that's a good question. That is a good question. Well, there is a statement somewhere where Pep says, if I find out that they've cheated or cooked the books, or whatever, I'm gone tomorrow. So he's already said it. If he finds out that they're done, he doesn't want any part of it, so he'd be off anyway. But come on, Man City are such an attractive proposition. They get a good manager in, someone who can essentially build a new project, and within a couple of years they'll be back to where they are. Do you know what I mean? It's not going to be when Juventus went down. Look how quickly they bounced back, and no one cares about that now.
They'll sign Antonio Conte in it. That's what's going to happen. But look, Bilal, yeah. Do you reckon if City do get found guilty, do you reckon that it'll have a big detriment to their Centurion season, the trophies that they've won? Do you expect them trophies to be stripped off them? Because if they did, that means people like you and Liverpool and all that, they'll be gaining a Premier League trophy.
No, because it doesn't mean anything, because football is and it's an emotion sport. And if we get given a title from 10 years ago, what does it mean? What does it matter? We're not going to feel nothing of it. It's an initial reaction thing, you know what I mean?
But as a United fan, though, wouldn't you feel good in a way that they wouldn't have them amount of
you'll get that satisfaction. But if we're getting given titles from 10 years ago, it means nothing. It's a number. It's literally just a number. But that feeling of the Aguero goal and everything like that, it means nothing really, in the sense of that. The only good thing out of it is that their numbers haven't stacked up and they've been punished for the way they've behaved. But in terms of United, I don't think United benefit from it in any way.
Say no more. Big up my boy Saeed in the chat. He says, big up the man them, tell Guna Lee to hold it this weekend.
I want to know why. Why is it not you? Why is it just me? You're not some Arsenal fan now. Wow.
I don't know. I think that day when he came on Premier League Unpacked, you rattled him and made him.
Yeah, you got to him.
He's gunning for you, bro. He's gunning for you. I'm telling you how, bro. But look, don't worry. United are back in the title race, so it's all good for United, ain't it? So it is what it is, people. It is what it is. But look, now we'll move on from Man City, and I think a lot of people have spoke about Man City, and it's just being covered all day pretty much. But there is one thing that we do have to talk about, and I think we're going to give him his fair due credit, because personally, in my opinion, I think he's a world-class striker, and it's Harry Kane, Spurs all-time top goal scorer with 267 goals, people, former Arsenal fan. We got to give him his applaudits. What are you telling me, Patrick? Talk to me about your boy beating Jimmy Greaves.
Yeah, no, you know what? Fantastic day to do it, all jokes aside. And it's good that he got it in a game that meant something, and it also won us the game. Do you know what I mean? Because if he scored 2 when we beat Leicester 4-2, it doesn't mean as much. It's great you done it. But to get the winning goal and the only goal in a big game, That was fantastic, and it was a televised game as well. So everyone was tuning in because it was a big game. So everyone was tuning in. It's the prime time game on Soccer Sunday, whatever you want to call it, and Arsenal fans were tuned in. Everyone was tuned in. It's a big game, especially with the ramifications it had after Arsenal dropped points. And City, were they going to take advantage? Were Tottenham going to capitulate under the pressure? Can they get their top 4 chances back on track? And yada yada yada. So there was a lot of storylines going into this one. Kane versus Haaland. Has Pep overfought it and overcooked it? Turns out it did. When I saw the lineup, didn't see KDB again. I was like, this is a bit strange. But, no one could really say too much because KDB didn't play in the last game. They were one. And even it's so weird because in the stadium, we were 1-0 up. And I felt quite comfortable, other than the Mahrez moment where he hit the crossbar. I wasn't really worried in the first half. And I was like, do we get a second one? Because, it's almost like I had PTSD because we went 2-0 up in the first game. And then obviously they came out really hungry and battered us in the second. So I was like, 1-0 is kind of a safer scoreline because they're not going to go too gung-ho to come at us. But to be fair, they didn't really. It's a weird one because, they had a lot of the ball, but they didn't really test us. Defensively, we were really good. We didn't, of course, they had a lot of the ball. So it's not like we sat behind the ball. We actually pushed up. We played quite a high line. When they had the ball, you saw Højbjerg or even Dyer Romero trying to counter press. We actually were quite brave, in defensively. Emerson Royale was fantastic on Grealish. Didn't give him any change. And yeah, man, we played well. We deserved it. We caused a lot of problems. Son was dangerous as well. I know he hasn't scored in a while in the Prem, but he looked quite good yesterday. And obviously, Harry Kane is dangerous. All he needs is one chance, one sniff, and he's going to bang. So yeah, fantastic for Kane, fantastic for Spurs, and dare I say it, also a good result for Arsenal. Annoyingly, grudgingly, but yeah, man, it's good for us though. We needed to get a win, man. We needed to beat a top 16. We hadn't beat a top 16 this season, so that was good for our confidence. And now, as you can see, we're literally a point behind Newcastle. And I feel I've been saying it all season. I know that we're going to get top 4 because I don't believe in Newcastle, man. When I look at them, they draw too many games. They don't score enough goals. Yes, defensively they are solid, but goals win games, man. And they don't really have a danger man there that can get them the goals they need. They've drawn 10 games this season. 10 games. It's a lot of draws, man. So yeah, I feel good. And I'm happy we got the win.
No coincidence that Antonio Conte wasn't there and Usman actually played pretty good, isn't it? It's all a mad thing. Maybe he needs to stay at home a bit more, and that way Usman will pull the results through. But go on, Bilal. We'll come to you before we touch on Lee because we know Lee's buzzing. We know Lee's absolutely ecstatic that Tottenham managed to get over the line because every time Arsenal fans want Tottenham to win, which is very rarely, they never end up doing it. Well, how did you see the game? Obviously, Harry Kane, Haaland, Pep Guardiola looks like he's under a bit of pressure.
The way it was a rare game where you wanted Spurs to win. It was a rare game where I wanted City to win or draw at least. Because my concern really right now ain't City. If they pick up the form like they usually do, they're going to be running away from us anyway, even though we're close on the table. But my concern is Spurs closing the gap on the top 4. So that's more of a threat for us. But yeah, City they're just flat, man. Don't know what it is. And the agenda online now, it's mad. I don't know how much of it you've seen, but a lot of people are comparing the agenda against Haaland right now in City to Ronaldo's last season. That even though this guy's getting all the goals, he affects the whole team's play style. And that's why they're not performing the way they are. I don't know how much of it I buy into because the guy's got 25 goals, man. You literally can't argue with that. But I don't know what it is. Do they not care about the league anymore? I wanted Bish here today to speak to him about this, but
do you know what? He'd probably jump in for people that are in the comments as well, wondering where Bish is. He's going to try to come into the stream a little bit later on if he can make it. But obviously, don't hold me to that. But yeah, man, we will definitely get his opinion next week on it if he doesn't come in.
Don't get what it is with City right now.
They look very demotivated, don't they?
Yeah. And this Cancelo, I mean, playing Rico Lewis as well, the whole Cancelo thing as well. We need to go over that. And I don't know. I don't know. It just feels like Pep's losing his mind right now. He's just having a midlife crisis, and he's just doing the maddest. He's got rid of Cancelo. He's benching KDB. I don't know. I can't figure out in my head what's going on right now with City. But I'm just the final piece of the jigsaw for me is I'm just waiting to see how they play in the Champions League. If they turn up like the City we all know in the Champions League, then I just know they don't care about the Premier League anymore. And they're just going all out on the Champions League this season. Because that's the only thing I can imagine in my head right now is what they're doing. If that's an explanation to the way they're playing. Is
Do you know
because
what? I don't think that's in their DNA, Bilal. I think, to be fair, hey, we got somebody in the cut here. This is Bish. I had enough of this nonsense. Jumping in shortly. Big up yourself, Bish. You get me? Come and back your team, fam. Come and back your team because everyone's throwing eggs at you right about now. But look, I think with the City situation, I don't think it's in their DNA to give up any kind of competition, especially the big ones, Premier League and stuff like that. I think it's just down to the morale of the team. I think these guys just want to, they need a new challenge. They need a new focus. Players in that team like Kevin De Bruyne, he didn't
that's
have the
why I'm
best World
waiting
Cup.
to see how they perform in the Champions League, because that's the one thing they're hungry for.
But
After
we know
that,
Bernardo Silva wants to leave as well. It doesn't
Yeah,
seem like a
yeah.
happy camp. But when you're
Yeah.
referring it back to the Ronaldo Haaland situation, I think it's a little bit unfair because I think, personally, I think Haaland's come in, new league, young lad, and he's absolutely destroyed records. And he's doing his job, putting the ball in the back of the net. When you buy a Haaland, he's not going to be that guy that's going to be creating all sorts for you. His job's just as an old school number 9, and he's doing that well. I think it's the people that are around him, the Silvers, the De Bruynes, the Godogans. Well, I think Grealish has done all right.
He's benched the one guy that supplied him the most this season. The guy that's feeding him all the goals, all the balls through. He's benched him in a big game.
That was a weird one. When I saw that lineup,
not a little game against Spurs.
Yeah. And he said it was for tactical reasons. So it's a strange one, man.
Oh, what tactics they lost?
I know. Pep does weird things like that. He does. Like, look at the Champions League final against Chelsea where he didn't play Rodri at DM. But I don't know, man. Yesterday I saw them and Rodri had a bad game. Rico Lewis is a good player, but again, I don't really get the whole tinkering and playing them on the left, as a full back. Then he's in the middle when they're going forward. It's all strange, man. It's all weird stuff. Weird stuff.
It's surprising that Diaz isn't playing as well, man.
Yeah,
he's been a soldier for them.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's
he's back. Yeah, it's strange. But you know what? I don't know, man.
Let me bring. Go on.
No, I was going to say maybe I was overthinking it because their record at our ground is really bad, like really bad. And maybe he tried to change it up and overthink it. And again, it just
didn't I hear correctly? They've never scored at that.
They've never scored, and they've had 2 penalties as well. They've had 2 penalties. That's never converted none of them. Never scored in about 5 or 6 games. Crazy stats.
That is crazy.
Don't worry, you keep up that record because it's going to be us and them going for it in the near future. So you keep that record up. But let me bring Gunnar in, yeah, because he's had his moment to sit here and just listen right now, and we know he's got a lot to say. Talk to me, Gunnar. Talk to me, bro. They did us a favor. They did us a favor.
I don't want to talk too much on City. My time's going to be. I want to big up Spurs, man. I want to big up Spurs because they came in. The manager, he was down and out. He's obviously unwell. Like he's what was it? Some sort of operation. So big up to him.
Gallbladder, man. Gallbladder removal.
Yeah. So that was that, and then you have to think, right? They've brought in Pedro Porro. Sorry, you need to think about the right back. He's been under scrutiny for a long time, and look, he came trumps against Grealish, who's playing out of his skin right now. You've also got Lloris, who's been absolutely horrible for the last couple of weeks. And listen, he made a save. Made a save or two. He was coming for crosses. It was nice. You've got your sort of your Viking in the middle of the pitch, winning the ball back. Pressing hard, and it was nice, man. Listen, look at my brother. Look at my brother down there, man. Look at my brother. Look at him in the dark, man. Listen,
look what you made me do, man. You man have me jumping on the stream in the car. You were talking so much nonsense.
Turn your phone to the side if you can. Turn your phone to the side so we can get a clearer visual.
I put the stream on for 5 minutes, thinking these guys are going to be talking sense, and you was all just hating the hell out of my team, man. Now I'm in the car.
I ain't said nothing, man. I'm chilled.
Yeah, big up goons. I didn't hear you say nothing, but I heard everyone else coming for smoke. And look at the title. Prem stabbed me with the title as well, Guilt until proven innocent, yeah? Guilt until proven innocent.
100 counts of that, fam. That sounded like worse than the Mendy situation, fam. That sounded guilty.
You know what? I haven't caught the whole stream, so I don't know what I've missed. But what can I cut my pleas for my team now, quickly?
Go on, say your piece. There's people in the comments be waiting for you, bitch. Man, I've been gunning for you in these comments. These Liverpool fans, I'm telling you.
I seen Marcel just appeared from the woodwork back into the flipping comments. Good to see you, Marcel. Listen, first things first, financial fair play was never about making things fair. Let's start there. Let's be real, yeah. Financial fair play was not about making the league more fair and more equitable. Because if it was that, what they would have done is they would have introduced a spending cap, or they would have done something in the NFL with the draft system. But that weren't what they done. What they said was financial fair play is going to be based on, you can spend based on what you earn as a club. So that means that financial fair play was brought in to maintain the status quo and to prevent clubs like City or Newcastle or other clubs that were outside of the existing big 4, 5, 6 teams in Europe, like your Uniteds, like your Liverpools, like your Real Madrids, from being knocked off their perch by new money, and especially by Arab money or brown money or money that's not come from Europe, because that's the other thing we can get into. There's a lot of owners and a lot of managers that there's no Premier League, UEFA ain't going for them like that, because they're worried about the way that money and the way that clubs that are being run by owners from outside of Europe are beginning to dominate football, and they don't like that, a lot of these people in these positions of power. So for me, it was never about financial fair play. And then when you dig into it, you start trying to say, well, it's about financial sustainability. It's about trying to prevent situations like Leeds and like Derby County, where clubs spend beyond the means. But of course, that's not going to be the case with a situation with City or the Abu Dhabi group, because they've got all of that money behind them. So there's other ways around that as well. So for me, first and foremost, the financial fair play thing from the get-go, the UEFA case that got thrown out by the flipping Independent Sports Commission, City were found innocent on the charges. That was already about Real Madrid. It was already known that Real Madrid's president was a big pusher behind pushing that case in the first place, because they don't like City's presence in and around things. Do you know what I mean? Now, for me, with this Premier League case, it's more of the same. You know, City obviously are maintaining their innocence, but the Premier League have made it a public thing, a public statement, because as far as I'm concerned, I feel like there's a witch hunt going on. And I think there's a lot of fans, that want to come with this rhetoric that we've been hearing since City got the money, of like trying to discredit what City have done by saying that City have cheated or City have just bought success. Like money hasn't dominated football since the beginning of time, or at least since the beginning of the Premier League. United fans have got convenient amnesia about the amount of money that they were spending back when we was knocking around in Division 1 and Division 2, not to mention the amount of money they've spent in the last 4, 5, 6 years. So it's not that man don't like City spending money, because the other thing is the fans that have always got something to say. It's always Liverpool fans, United fans. Bro, I don't meet Huddersfield fans that are salty about City getting that dough. Man are happy that there's hope for the little clubs to be able to one day go up and compete, and that they're not going to spend a whole lifetime just watching the big four be on rotation forever. It's the big boys that have always got something to say about it. It's the Liverpool.
Let me just get in and ask you a few questions. Let me ask you a few questions, because I hear what you're saying, bro. That obviously people want hope and do it, but you got to do it to an even playing field, because at the moment, what you are seeing from City, bro, from what we're hearing, and we can only go off what we hear because neither of us are in the club, so we don't know the truth until the end of it is. But it's looking a bit of a madness, bro. 100 breaches, obviously, with the UEFA situation. City kind of got bypassed that because of the time schedule, and it was a longer period of time, where with the Premier League and the FA, there's no time cap on it. So they obviously looking, so where you see City were making 20 30 million in revenue, and then next thing you know, they're making 300 400 in revenue, and obviously they're not worldwide. Well, they are getting worldwide, but they're not as big as some of the other clubs' fan bases, as obviously the money came in 2009 or something like that. So they started to kind of build up from there. As a City fan, though, if this does come out to be true, are you not going to look at it and think, well, you know what, we got to take some slack here, because we've been trying to do this and do that in order to boost ourselves up without do it on an even playing field?
For me, what you just said, so there's two things that you said there. You started off about talking about an even playing field, but then as you went on, the stuff that you started to cite isn't, as I've already said, isn't about being an even playing field. So the financial fair play rule and the notion that you can only spend the amount that you make as revenue as a club does not create an even playing field. It does the complete opposite. It says that teams that already make a lot of money are allowed to spend a lot of money, and teams that aren't a global franchise and that don't have a global reach and haven't established themselves over 10, 20 years across the whole world with spending more money than everyone else before financial fair play was a thing. That's without us getting into the conversation of where the money came from, whether they earned it, made their right to be there, whatever. That's a different conversation. But in terms of it about being an even playing field, those particular rules of you can only spend the amount you earn does not create an even playing field. It by definition, it does the opposite. It says that if a team only makes a small amount of money, like Burnley, you can only spend a small amount of money, and ultimately it caps the rate at which you can grow. And it means that teams like Brighton always have to sell players and sell their squads whenever they get a good manager and a good team, because they can't build quick enough to be able to establish themselves and break into them upper parts of the league. So there's two separate questions. Do I feel like City tried to wangle some stuff and try to figure out a backdoor way of being able to get around financial fair play so that they could compete with the big boys? Absolutely. I think they've probably done some of that kind of stuff.
That's cheating then, Bish. You've just admitted that Man City have cheated then.
I don't know that they've done it. And I don't know what the legal rules are.
But anything backdoor though, anything backdoor.
Nah, they're not saying it's backdoor. They're not saying it's backdoor. What they're saying is that your ownership also is closely connected to the company that's come on and sponsored your stadium and your team. So because the Abu Dhabi family,
find that weird? Like for yourself, do you not find that weird though?
What do you mean?
Do you not find it weird that? And again, like I'm not asking you to, like I'm not trying to incriminate you. I know you're a City fan, so of course, like you're gonna back your team and your club. So what I'm asking is, do you not find it strange that the people that own your club have close ties, close associations to these big corporations and companies that are pumping 100, 200 million pounds in sort of sponsorship and stuff like that, when in truth, Arsenal, for example, struggle to get that when we're a huge commodity. Spurs struggle to do that. They can't even, Spurs are a bigger club than you, and they can't even get a naming rights for their stadium. That's not to say that they're not a big club, but they're struggling to do that. Man United, they struggled at times. So what I'm trying to say is, how is, and I put inverted, little old Man City getting all of this money? It just looks like you're filling in with the books. That's what it looks like from the outside.
Go on, let me respond to what you're saying, because go on, bro.
Can I just say something? Sorry, can I just say something? Lee, take that back. Tottenham ain't bigger than Man City. Hold that thought, bro. Hold that thought.
Nah, Tottenham bigger than Man City.
Listen, I think that definitely there's some big money, big business stuff at play. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot of stuff. This stuff with City and the ownership included, but there's a lot of stuff that goes on around clubs and financing and funding that sounds on the surface like it shouldn't be allowed. So, for example, the fact that the Glazers were able to buy United without ever using a pound of their own money, that they were able to somehow do this weird thing where they basically borrowed against the value of the club before they'd owned the club to buy the club. To me, that sounds like some dodgy shit that we couldn't do down here on grassroots level. That's some kind of money trickery that's reserved for big money, big business, big deals. Do you get me? Now, with the City, Etihad, all of that stuff, obviously they have a bit like people that try and big money companies that try and avoid paying taxes by setting themselves up abroad. Absolutely, I think that they've tried to do some stuff where they've walked very closely to the line of like what you're allowed and what you're not allowed, in order to get around financial fair play rules that were brought in ultimately around the time that City started getting money for the very reason that we've already established, which was to prevent new clubs being able to come and break the existing hierarchy. So there's two separate conversations for me. One is, did City do anything wrong and should they be punished? And another is this whole financial fair play and these rules, are they about trying to make the league fair and make it a level playing field, or are they about maintaining status quo? Because them conversations are getting mixed together a lot. So people are mixing up whether or not City have broken rules and what the repercussions should be, and whether or not like City's success and what City have done is like immoral or anti-football or anti-competition.
Don't get me wrong, Bish. There's a lot of hating going on. I'm not gonna lie. There's a lot of hating.
There's a lot of hating. And that's why I said earlier, I didn't want to make it like I know all
on
this.
On the hate train.
No, I wasn't on the hate train. I was actually on
it. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
I feel like it's not for me to say whether or not you are guilty. I just find it's quite difficult to look at Man City and say, look, they've got if a man has 100 things that they're saying that you've done wrong, you can't tell me not one of them. Even Bilal said it. You can't tell me not one of those ain't gonna stick. One.
So I think what will happen is City will be found guilty on certain charges. I think a lot of the charges, even if they're found guilty on certain things, if they appeal to a proper legal court, because that was the other thing that a lot of people aren't mentioning about the UEFA case. It wasn't necessarily just that the things were timing out, is that at the time, we were still in the EU, I believe, and City had basically said that they were going to go to, if the UEFA had won the case, then City were going to take it to the EU business course, and we're going to challenge it on the grounds of monopoly and anti-competition, because the financial fair play rules ultimately are, if they were in any other line of business, you can't have that. Like DPD and Amazon can't come out and say, yo, any new delivery companies, you can only spend this year what you make in revenue. You can't do that. It's anti-competition. It goes against rules that are established in this country and in the EU around business and fair competition. So that was one of the reasons why that EU case folded, was because they knew that if it went to the higher courts and went to the courts outside football, City would win and then would have had the grounds to have ultimately took out their own case against the UEFA, which neither party wanted. Do you know what I mean?
But did they end up paying him 10 million or something though?
They ended up paying a reduced fine and settling the case, and ultimately they opted not to sue that Der Spiegel German newspaper that had illegally leaked all of those emails, which again they could have gone through with. And what I've been told from people that I've spoke to is that City just wanted the situation to blow over. They didn't want to continue the situation. They didn't want to stretch it out by trying to take out a case against UEFA or this.
Wouldn't you want to take a case out though if you were innocent though, and you felt like you was innocent, to not even pay that 10 mil just to prove your innocence?
Saying, I think part of what I'm trying to get at is that I think when it comes to money, and especially this kind of big money, when we're talking about innocence and guilt and stuff, it's not like a man that's been accused of like rape or like murder or something where like it's something that you feel like you personally have to clear your name of. Do you know what I mean? Like if you're a business and you have a case that comes against you in terms of someone wants to audit you to see if you've paid enough tax, you can end up in situations where the HMRC are offering you a settled tax bill, and you know that you could go to court and pay less, but ultimately for the time and the cost and the public image effect it's going to have, you'll pay that money, or you'll pay a hush money or whatever, because you just do the cost benefit analysis, and it's better to do that. I think in that case for City, I think in a lot of these cases, money ain't a thing. And what was more important is trying to get the cases done and squashed, and trying to prevent what's happening now, which is this like public bandwagon, public outcry, public political, social pressure to try and get City stripped, get City relegated, drive Pep out the door, all the stuff that seems to be going on in the media. Like, it's not a coincidence that all of a sudden this story's come out, and in the same 24-hour period, there's a million stories about Haaland's not happy, he wants to go. Jamie Carragher says Haaland made the wrong decision going to City. Like, everyone just jumps on the bandwagon to try and get around that story and build momentum against whoever it is that's under pressure. Do you know what I mean? We've seen it with other clubs in the past. And I don't think it's a moral conversation for me. I think it's going to be a legal conversation. Premier League have obviously released this as some public thing as opposed to approaching City privately, because they want to try and get public backing on their side. And ultimately, until this goes to a commission, and until we get a finding or a hearing, and then there's an appeal, and until we get to the end of all of that and hear what it is, then everything else to me is people trying to make this into something that it isn't. A conversation about whether City are making football not competitive, or whether. And if we look at the league today, the Premier League today is more competitive in terms of different teams challenging at different ends.
You're breaking up a little bit there, Bish. I don't know if it's just me or.
Sorry. I was just going to say, if you look at the league today, the league is more competitive, more topsy-turvy, more unpredictable than it's ever been.
Listen, it's a bit distraughting. I'm going to bring you out, and I'm going to put you back in. I'm going to bring you out and put you back in, because I can't hear you clearly, yeah? Boys, if you need to ask Bish anything, make sure you jump in and ask him, innit?
Yeah, there's one thing I wanted to say about the way he described the way Glazers bought United. Now, I don't support the Glazers at all, but it's a very common thing across the whole world, the way that you can secure a loan against an asset to borrow money for the asset, just like the way you'll finance a car. The finance is secured against the asset, against the car. You get a mortgage, it's secured against the house. So the way United, the Glazers may have got a loan for United to buy United, they've secured it against the club. It's a completely normal thing. maybe there was something dodgy in there, but it is a very common thing. And it doesn't mean they haven't done anything dodgy since. Like, look at the money we've spent in the last 10 years. And I don't support them at all. But that can be, it is a common thing to secure money against assets. So just one thing I wanted to say.
Yeah, did you catch any of that?
Listen, Bish.
Can you hear us, bro?
I don't think you can hear us.
Well, we'll try to let him get his signal back there. He's frozen there now with that glum look on his face because he's upset about the Man City situation. But you know, he's all love, my brother.
While that happens, anyway, I'll give the props to Harry Kane. Anyway, he helped us. You've helped us. Not lose any ground in the title race. Man City, and I don't want to talk too much on them because they've had a nice little session of us kind of
giving them 46 minutes,
saying all what we need to say about them. And ultimately, look, Harry Kane, our last couple of weeks, I've had a real agenda against you. Listen, man, you got 200 goals in the Premier League, the most important one in the last 20 years for an Arsenal fan. I ain't gonna lie, bro. You're my guy, man. You're my guy.
Why is it all these underhanded compliments? I don't like it, man. I don't like it.
Listen, man. Once a gunner, always a gunner. Listen to Ozil, man. Listen to Resistance.
Look at the thumbnail, people. Look at the thumbnail. The proof is in the pudding.
Photoshop.
Always.
Kane's come out many a time and said he's a Tottenham fan. He's Tottenham through and through. His family all Tottenham. It is what it is.
Obviously, he's going to say that, innit? Do you know what I mean? When he knows he's going to end up getting battered when he goes to the games. You know what I mean? But look, it is a massive, massive thing, bro. And look, the biggest question I wanted to ask as well to all the panel, I'll come to you first, Patrick, because obviously you're the Tottenham guy. Personally, I think Harry Kane is a world-class striker. Some people say that he's not because he hasn't won certain accolades or whatnot. I'm guessing, in your opinion, he's a world-class striker.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely is. The goals speak for itself. I mean, he's fastest to 200 goals in Premier League history. I know there's only 3 players that have got there, so that alone shows you the elite company that he's in. Alan Shearer's on 260 goals. Wayne Rooney's on 208, and I expect Harry Kane to beat that this season. So he needs to get 9 goals in about 16 games or whatever it is left. And by the rate of that he's scoring goals, you'd expect him to do that. And Harry Kane's on 200 goals now. And I think Harry Kane's got 200 goals in 304 games. And I think that's 3 less than what Alan Shearer took to get to that. And we all know what a phenomenal striker Alan Shearer is. So the goal tally is crazy. And if you think about it, what's even more insane is that Kane's not really scoring braces and hat-tricks anymore. But it's just consistently goal after goal. Do you know what I mean? Like, Haaland might score 3 goals and then they go 4 or 5 games without scoring. But Kane's just consistent. It's just every game he's good for at least a goal. So the record is insane. It's phenomenal. And it just goes to show as well, the way he's 29, 30 this year. But you can see after the couple of big injuries, he's looked after his body. He's in insane shape. The guy hardly gets injured, like knocks and niggles. You can see he's the ultimate professional, and never seen him in a scandal, never seen him doing anything dodgy. Family guy, but football through and through. I mean, the talking on the pitch is just insane. And it was great yesterday as well.
You've never seen him in a scandal? Did you just say that?
What scandal have you seen Harry Kane in? What scandal?
Wait, I've got two I can think of top of my head. The first one, he claimed on his daughter's life that he scored a goal against.
If Harry Kane does that, he's good. Harry Kane's good for his work. If it touched him, it touched him.
Don't make me have to turn on him. I'm actually being nice. I'm being nice. Do not make me have to.
What's scandal number 2? What's scandal number 2?
Okay, so I'm glad you agree with that because he swore.
I don't agree with it, but I'm just.
Scandal number 2.
Yeah.
He went on British television on Sky Sports and basically said, "I want to leave Spurs," and then he got all this loving because Spurs are this and Spurs are that. They're not good enough. But if it was any other club, maybe not the England captain, people will start talking about him. So that's another little scandal that we can mention. It is because
people spoke about that.
He down tools. Okay, so
on the overlap, people spoke about it, and obviously, they turn up to training.
So hold on.
He missed the
all I'm
City
saying
game
is,
last. Yeah.
So Okay, fine. I'm correcting you. So don't act like this guy is
that a
the Virgin
scandal?
Mary.
Is that-
He's not the Virgin Mary.
Has
He's
he
not the
been
Virgin
caught?
Mary.
Has he been caught?
Big scandal.
I don't know.
Listen, this guy,
I
yeah,
agree with that,
I'm trying to big
man.
up
I
Harry
don't
Kane,
know.
but don't make him seem like he's Father Bishop. This
He's
guy
white.
is not that guy.
In terms of Premier
not.
League footballers and professional athletes in this day and age, the guy's whiter than white, man. Come on.
Okay, but look
Clean cut as they come.
at the people you're comparing them to. People like Wayne Rooney and all these other guys. Come on, man, stop that.
I'm comparing him to just the average footballer. Like,
Yeah, I know.
you
Look what they do. Look what they do. You got nah. Anyway, I'm just letting you know.
I
I'm
don't
bigging
know.
him.
Right, listen. All right. Let me ask
Bilal.
Bilal. Yeah, before we get Bish's thoughts on it, Bilal. Obviously, Harry Kane's going to be coming to United next season, and that. Do you rate him as? do you rate him as a world-class striker, bro?
Yeah, 100%, bro. 100. No, I agree with what Patrick said. The numbers speak for themselves. He is a world-class striker. Don't know about the whole scandal thing. I'm not too interested in that. Nothing that's ever made it out like some of the other footballers. Anyway, maybe he has done a couple of things, but nobody's perfect in it.
He really believes he's going to United, and that he's trying to brush the scandals under the carpet straight away.
I'm kind of weighing it up in my head. With obviously he's 30. There's a few talks about Osimhen as well, and it's what price tag is he going to come at for 30? I mean, then again, we were doubting Casemiro at about 60, 70, and look what he's done for us in just half a season. And if we get another 2 seasons out of him, would you say 60 mils worth it?
You know what? He's only going to have 1 year left on his contract or something, Patrick?
Yeah, he's got 18 months right now, so he's got a year left in the summer.
Yeah, so
it
might be able to get him cheap.
It is an interesting time, but he ain't going United. He ain't going nowhere, man.
Well, look, I'm going to ask this to Bish, yeah, and then we'll move on from the whole City and Tottenham because we've got a few other topics to discuss, and we're 51 minutes in, so we will try to breeze past it. Who's better, Harry Kane or Haaland?
Who's better today, or who's had I mean,
if all right, would you swap Harry Kane
have
for
a better
Haaland?
career by the time it's all done? No, not today. Obviously, because Haaland's young and he's at the start of his career. Kane's on the back end, but I think I do think that Kane probably is underrated in the scheme of. I caught a bit of when I was trying to get back into the stream. A bit about, I think Lee was saying that it kind of sacrilegious, people comparing him to Rooney, and you know, he don't really deserve to be in that conversation, I'm guessing, for you Arsenal, man, with the likes of your Henrys and your Rooneys and your whatever. But at this point, you know, his numbers just speak their own story. And this is a guy that's done them numbers in, like, so if you look at him up there now, he's now above Aguero. He's above Rooney. Is he above Rooney or is he just below Rooney? I think just below Rooney.
Yeah,
he's going to be past Rooney probably by the end of the season. He's got Shearer in sights. He's passed Henry, and he's done this in a club that we can all agree for most of the time he's been at Tottenham. In fact, for all of the time he's been at Tottenham, they've probably been worse than they were than Arsenal were the whole time Henry was there. Than City were most of the time Aguero was there. You know, Alan Shearer is the anomaly a little bit that kind of done it at clubs that today we'd. But even then, those clubs were competing for the league and stuff. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, this guy's done it in a Tottenham and all that as well. Newcastle.
Yeah, this guy's done it in Tottenham, in a Tottenham side, which for a lot has been a 4th, 5th, sometimes 6th, 7th, sometimes 3rd, 4th place team season on season the whole time he's been there, and he's probably going to end up being the Premier League top goal scorer. I don't know, even because I'm in the same category, but I just don't know why I don't put him in that one of the greatest, top 3 greatest strikers we've ever seen in the Prem. Like, he gets brushed. I don't know if it's the way he plays. I don't know if it's the fact he doesn't have that. Do
you think it's because he doesn't
wow factor?
It's because he plays for Tottenham. That's all it is.
He doesn't have that superstar status. You think
it's because he plays for Tottenham? If he was any other team doing what he does, there'll be no doubt about it. In terms of the goals he scored from all sorts of angles and areas, inside the box, outside the box, left foot, right foot headers, the way he links. I mean, the guy's a phenomenal striker, but unfortunately, and this is me being a Spurs fan, being honest, because of Tottenham being the smallest team in terms of the top 6, in terms of obviously output, trophies, you know, star power and all of that, it goes against him. If he played for any other team doing what he does, everyone would be eulogizing about him.
Do you think it could also be the fact that he's England captain but can't speak English?
See what I mean?
I was going to say it's about his haircut and that, but never mind. It is what it is. Well, look, let's move on from that because we're getting a little bit too deep into the show, and we have to touch on this guy, Sean Dyche, man. I'm telling you,
Wow,
Everton
man.
have made a proper signing of a manager to keep them up
Oh
and
man.
fight relegation. And you know what? I'm going to give them massive credit, first of all. I think Everton
Yeah.
deserved to win that game, hands down. They outplayed
Yeah.
us. They outmuscled us. They played three centre defensive midfielders in that game and just locked it off. And they didn't just sit back as well. They were very, very threatening going forward in that
Yeah.
first half. We were very lucky to even go in at 0-0. And that's my honest opinion on the game. But I'm going to get Lee's
Yeah.
thoughts on it first, being an Arsenal fan. Obviously, taking away, Tottenham beating Man City and it's all still staying the same. Was you very disappointed in that performance from the Arsenal?
Do you know what? People are going to say that I'm lying, but if you go watch my preview, I was probably the most pessimistic fan. I actually thought it would be a real struggle. When I actually deeped and looked at Everton's squad, I was literally thinking to myself, how are they in the position that they're in? Like, they have such a good squad. And Damari Gray didn't even play. But I just thought to myself, those three, I didn't think Gay would play, but I thought with Decore and Onana in there, I said, was this going to be an audition for Onana and Decore that plays some power? Look, and ultimately it came to the fore. But I'm also not going to be in the side of meltdown. Look, we're not going to face a team. We're not going to face a team like that every single week where they have three huge monsters in the middle of the pitch. We're not going to face someone who's going to be as deep, but away from home as well. I think that is a massive factor into it. We don't have Jesus, who's less than all-round, but is our best player. And I think ultimately, sometimes, look, a team just doesn't turn up. How can I listen? We played 20 games, and in those 20 games, I think the only game that we probably didn't play well enough to actually get a point or win was Leeds and Everton. I'm not going to start jumping on their backs now, man. Like, I'm not going to do that. There were some players that looked quite leggy, which I'm sure you're going to get into, and I'm probably more worried about that moving forward. Especially, we've got we had a whole week and we still looked quite tired. So how are we going to do it when we've got 2 games in a week and stuff like that? But yeah, ultimately for me, look,
Do you know what, bro? I agree with you.
Okay, so.
I agree with you, bro. I actually do agree with you. I think that we can't get on them too tough, but you just got to say it as it is. I think players like Ben White, shocking game. Martinelli had a shocking game. To be fair to Thomas Partey, Xhaka is another one. I think, to be fair to Thomas Partey, I think they kind of rushed him into this game. There was reports that he might have not been fit to start. Jorginho, come on, look lost to me. Obviously, he's a little bit too early to start slating, man.
I think even trust didn't come on, and he looked really good against Man City, but I didn't like him coming off the bench in that game.
You know what? When Trossard came on, for me, he was trying to make stuff happen. He had a few shots at goal, even though he had one on target, one went over the top. He was a lot more effective than what Martinelli was. But the players got to take accountability for them kind of performances, because if we want to go and win this league, we can't be doing that on a frequent basis.
Even for me, listen, he's star boy, but Saka, he got locked up against Ake and he got locked up against Myelenko as well. And we have to be honest, I think the last 2 or 3 games, he's not been that, Mahrez. You look at Mahrez, he's an absolute danger. My man hit the crossbar, so he hit the post. Crossbar. And
crossbar, yeah.
I'm just missing a little bit of that from someone like Saka at the moment. The normal scintillating football, but I'm gonna chalk it up to a bad day at the office, man.
Say no more. Bilal, Arsenal drop points. They've given United a little opportunity to say we're back in the title race. What are you telling me, fam? Do you reckon the Arsenal slipped up big time, or do you reckon it's just a little blip with Man City losing as well?
I think City's loss actually softened the blow. I don't think it really changes anything. I mean, numerically, it hasn't. United are 3 points closer, but still not a thought in my mind. Unless we go top and go 4 or 5 points clear in the next 6 or 7 games, I'm not going to be thinking. Even if we somehow overtook Arsenal and sat at the top of the table, I still wouldn't think we're in a title race. I just don't think we're ready for it. One season. They've just so many. I don't know. For me, no. They're not ready for it. No.
Say no more. Sean Dyche, do you reckon he's the right man to take Everton out of this mess?
Oh man, fair play to Sean Dyche. I was a big advocate for Lampard, and I was kind of dying on that hill a little bit by the end because it wasn't working, and I just felt like kind of he wasn't to blame. But what we've seen with Sean Dyche coming in is what happens when you've got someone that's just got that another level of managerial experience. A bit like when Unai Emery came in after Gerrard at Aston Villa, and you see just the gap in class. Little decisions. I mean, McNeil on the left, I would never have thought to play him ahead of Demarai Gray. Clearly, Lampard never thought to play him ahead of Demarai Gray, but clearly Sean Dyche had a deeper, broader strategy for why he was playing. And the balls that he was putting into the box were giving Arsenal problems from the first 5-10 minutes of the game, not to mention the kind of defensive work and discipline that he was showing, and the way that he kind of neutralised or helped to neutralise Saka a little bit on that right hand side. Once he switched over with Iwobi, I just thought little things like that were.
I had to bring that one up. That was a funny one. Big up Christopher from Australia. We got sliced and dashed. Can't lie.
Yeah, man.
Madness.
I think Sean Dyche just showed why he's so respected as a manager. Because yes, there was a bit of that new manager effect thing, you know, players playing up to the occasion. Yes, Goodison Park was rocking, but ultimately I think there were some tactical decisions that he made going into that game that really showed. And like you guys said, yeah, they've got them three big men in the middle, but them big men have been playing in a Lampard season or team all season and have not really looked like a force like that. Onana looked like Yaya Toure or something. He was striding forward.
We were linked with him as well, man.
Phenomenal. He looked phenomenal. So I think Everton will stay up. I think Sean Dyche will. In fact, I don't even think they'll just stay up. I think they'll end up staying up and being like 10 points clear of the relegation zone. I think he will do one of them ones, you know what I mean, where he goes on and wins 7 out of 10 games or something like.
Have a proper new manager bounce.
Yeah, and thank God for Everton fans and for Everton, because that was starting to look like a bit of a dire situation. But yeah, I mean, from an Arsenal point of view, I think you guys hit the nail on the head. I don't think you'd be too concerned, especially obviously with City dropping points. But even if City had beat Tottenham, I don't think as an Arsenal fan you would be in that game thinking too differently about your team. I mean, maybe it made me breathe a little sigh of relief, because for a minute I was thinking, are Arsenal going to go and break like points records and like win records and get 110?
If anyone thinks why I'm laughing, sorry, it's just I'm seeing Patrick there chewing like a horse. I can't stop it, bro. I can't stop it. But Bishop, you sure you're all right, fam? Because you're looking a little bit down still. You're my boy. I've known you a long time.
Can I ask you a question?
I'm not gonna lie, I'm steaming about this City topic. I don't even want to talk about nothing else.
Can I ask you a question though? I want to talk about football.
Go on.
I want to talk about football with you, bro. Are you going to win the league?
You know what? I'm glad you asked me, because when I was just waiting to get back on the stream, then I was sitting here stewing about this whole fucking situation. And then that's where my mind went to next is that going to be the final nail in the coffin for us this season on trying to compete, especially when it comes coupled with that Tottenham result yesterday? And then my next thought was, or is that going to be what Pep's been waiting for? That kind of something to try and galvanize that kind of us against the world mentality. Do you know what I mean? Everyone's out to get us, like City fans, City team. We just need to band together. We need to rep in the face of everyone that's trying to because that's been part of the problem for me with City is we've looked like we ain't got nothing to fight for. Do you know what I mean? We look like a team that's won the league 4 times in 5 years. Do you know what I mean? We look like a team that's spoiled and fans that are spoiled. And you know, there's not much better remedy than one, feeling like people are out to get you, feeling like there's a witch hunt or whatever you want to call it, but also just reading some of them stories when we were talking about City getting relegated and City's owners getting banned and this and that, like obviously it brought me back to a place of like, whoa, like there was a time before when we had all of this, what we have today. And I kind of felt like we could never go back to it because the clubs ran too well, there's too much money. But the thought that things can happen in the world that mean you're not always just top of the perch like we are today makes you, at least for me as a fan, I don't know if it does it the same for the players, but it makes you appreciate the opportunities we've got now to try and go and win something. Do you know what I mean? But then is it just going to be a distraction? Are the players just going to be thinking, well, what if we win the league and they flipping take it off us afterwards anyway? I think that's what I didn't like as well about the way the stories come out. There's too much speculation. Like when
You
they
should have
started saying they
waited
might,
towards the end of the season, and then once it's over, then brought the
yeah,
news out
or
and stuff
just
like that.
You know what?
or just had more clarity on what it is. When they start saying they might strip titles and that, for me, that's like, regardless of what fan you are, you shouldn't want to see that, because some of the greatest moments we've seen in Premier League, like that's that. So now you're going to say that Aguero goal means nothing because of something that went on between flipping with whether or not this amount was meant to be provided and this information was provided.
Exactly what I was
Obviously,
saying. Football's based on emotion and moments like that. Like, this is why if we got given that title from that season, it means nothing. It means nothing.
Exactly. So who benefits from that? Do you know what I mean?
Obviously,
Finals.
on the football side of it, though.
On the football side of it, I think Arsenal will win the league. I think
I'm even more just looking at it like, are you worried that like Pep seems to be throwing these players under the bus? The players that you rely on that come in, and like you had Gundogan one season come in and do a madness for like 20 games. You've had Bernardo Silva come in and do a madness. De Bruyne, Aguero, Silva, company. Are you worried that like just moving forward that you feel you might have such a, I mean, you can spend the money, but you might have a big kind of change coming in your team? Paul Walker seems to be having issues. De Bruyne seems to be like, having issues. And it's, normally in normal circumstances, someone like Man City, any other team, they will get rid of the manager. But Pep has so much power that it's going to be the players. Your likes of De Bruyne might be gone. Kyle Walker might be gone. I don't know why, but your centre backs, they weren't starting. They may start thinking up a fuss. We've heard all the issues with the Portuguese contingent that are kind of maybe right behind Cancelo. He's obviously now gone as well. So I'm just worrying for you, like as a Man City fan. Do you think this is actually a bigger thing? Like you have this season, but next couple of seasons, you're not going to maybe be the top dog every single week.
Right. Well, Lee's frozen there, but look, Bish, I don't want.
I got the last bit of that.
We'll answer this and then we'll move on, because obviously I've not even got Patrick's thoughts on this, and
No.
we're nearly an hour and 10 in, and I don't want to depress the shit out of you with all this City stuff.
I know. No,
And
you know
got
what I
one
would
more
say?
topic.
I think there was 2 points in there. I think one was this idea that like Pep is throwing his players under the bus, the players are turning on Pep, there's bad blood in the team or whatever. That part I'm not so worried about. I think a big part of that is the media. I think the Cancelo situation is whatever it is, but outside of that, I don't think that Haaland is unhappy. I think a lot of that is people just trying to add into the story. But another thing that you touched on that I do think is more concerning is the lack of leaders. Like you mentioned, a lot of players there that were leaders one way or another. Company, your Yaya Torres, your Aguero. Aguero was a leader in the way the Company was, but he was a leader in the sense that we could be playing badly and he would turn a game on his own. At the moment, we have a team where it feels like unless the whole team is playing well and we're winning as a team, there's a lot of individuals in that team that no matter how good they are, they don't look like they've got what it takes to take a game by the scruff of the neck and win on their own. And, Company scoring that screamer that year when we had 10 minutes to go against Leicester or whoever it was in the title race, Yaya coming up trumps time and time again in semi-finals and finals of FA Cups. And I just don't think we've got the leaders. I think, and the guys that we've got that are main guys, leaders. De Bruyne don't give me leadership vibes. Do you know what I mean? Gundogan don't give you leadership energy. Like these people don't. That doesn't seem to be in their nature. So I think that is a bigger problem. But in terms of the unrest in the squad, I think a lot of that is just people trying to jump on a man when he's down kind of thing. So I'm not too worried about that.
Say no more. We'll move on from the whole City situation because we keep getting drawn back into it. But look, Patrick, obviously, it's up to you if you want to give your 2 pence on the Arsenal defeat. I was going to move on for it real swift before we asked your opinions. But what did you quickly make of the game? What did you learn from it?
It was an interesting one. Obviously, the new man, before the fixture, before Lampard got sacked, I thought, easy 3 points for Arsenal and Everton were going to get turned over. Then when they appointed Dyche, I thought this is going to be quite a tricky one because at the minimum, Dyche asked for 100%. He's going to make them hard to beat, hard to break down. I was really surprised when I saw the lineup, the midfield, just all pace and power and energy. And to be fair, you just saw Everton players play for the manager in a sense of they all had a point to prove. They all wanted to show why they want to be in the team and why they should pick them. And that new manager bounce was the difference. Every player for Everton played at 150%, and it just got under the Arsenal fans' skin. I saw a lot of Arsenal players have a bad game in the same game, and that doesn't usually happen. Usually Arsenal have at least 3 or 4 players who collectively can turn it on. Martinelli was shocking on Saturday. Saka was decent up until he got... a lot of people are saying that Saka had a bad game. I thought Saka was good up until the eye injury, and that threw him off his game, and he didn't really recover after that. Zinchenko looked all right. Ben White didn't look good. The defense wasn't cohesive. It's just a mixture of things. And then Everton got a scrappy goal for a header off a corner or whatever it was. And yeah, they deserved the win. It was a scrappy game, but you kind of know that's what you're going to get when you go to Goodison Park under an Everton team that are functioning and just playing to the best of their abilities. They're not a great team, but they've got players in it that can annoy you, can harass you, and then come up with a bit of quality. I don't think it will be interesting to see what happens next, because Arsenal have lost 2 on the spin. Obviously, the Man City game, there's no shame in that. Everton is a game you didn't expect them to lose to, but you can understand under the circumstances. So it'll be interesting to see what happens next. Brentford at home, if you lot can beat them, it's back to business. If you do lose or drop points in that, then it will become real shaky. So I wouldn't put too much on it. I just think a lot of players, it was the perfect storm basically for Everton and for you lot. A lot of players didn't play well for you. Everton, every player played out of their skin trying to impress the new manager, and to combine together, it was one of them things that can happen.
You know what, bro? I agree with all of that. But now we're going to have to move on. And this is the last topic. But look at this guy, Jurgen Klopp. Liverpool being beaten again. 3-0. These 3-0s are becoming a custom now. Should he be sacked from Liverpool? Bilal, talk to me. Yeah, obviously, biggest rival of yours, Liverpool, out here on a madness, getting tumped up left, right, and centre. You can't even see them in the table no more. Klopp's got to take the responsibility now. When are people going to be looking at Klopp thinking, you know what, this guy needs the chop?
100%, bro. 100%. I think his clock's ticking very fast. They're just getting slapped by everyone right now. That's the thing. And it's obviously there's always going to be a fine line of balancing the blame between the players and the manager. But how much can obviously they're in a bad run of form, morale's low, but that is what the manager's job is, to lift them up when they're in that position. That's how look at when Ten Hag came into United, they were the lowest they've ever been, and that's where a manager comes in and brings them players back to their best, or even to a level where they're at least performing. And he's not doing that right now. So the clock is ticking. I mean, look where they are on the table. It speaks for itself. They're having a shocking season, not even competing for top 4 at the moment. I think they're 12, 13 points off top 4. And I think 2-3 more defeats like this, and I think that his time might be up, to be honest.
Yo, bro, it is all a madness in the Liverpool camp. Guna, Klopp, 7-year curse. What's going on, bro?
Listen, I don't want to talk too much in it because they're going to say that I'm hating. So listen, Klopp, just keep doing what you're doing. I'm Klopping. Hashtag Klopping. That's all I want to do, man. Hashtag. He's giving me the Lampard vibe. So hashtag Klopping, man. Please.
Say no more. Bish, look, you've been going hammer and Tom with Liverpool over the last God knows how many years, 4 or 5 years. Are you quite surprised on how Liverpool are falling this low? Like, maybe they might have fallen a little bit, but this low, bro, is a bit of a madness.
Yeah, it's getting to the point now, isn't it, where it's like you look at the results each weekend and you see Liverpool losing and you're like not surprised, but then you're surprised that you're not surprised. Like I seen them 2-0 down at Wolves at half time or whatever it was, and I thought, same old Liverpool. And then I was like, whoa, that's mad that they're 2-0 down at Wolves, and I'm just like not even double taking. I'm just on to the next result. Like they're having obviously a terrible time. I think the problem is that it's a bit like when Wenger was on his way down at Arsenal. Like you shouldn't really ever sack a manager that's done that much for you. Like he should be allowed to literally be 4 points off relegation this year, and you should at least get through to the end of the year and then find some kind
Wenger weren't doing up 11th though, fam. You know what I mean?
No,
this is what I mean.
Go on, bro. Go on, Bilal.
This is what I wanted to say.
No, go.
For what he's done for them, to be sacked after 6-7 months, obviously he doesn't deserve it for the 7 years he's given him. But that's the way football works today.
Oh yeah. No, I agree with you that it might
the way
happen.
football works today. If you don't perform for a few months, don't matter what you've done in the past, they'll get the ownership will get rid of you like that. I just wanted to say that.
No, I definitely agree with you. I wasn't saying that it can't happen. I just think that they shouldn't do that. And that was the comparison I was giving with Wenger. Not that Wenger was ever doing this badly, but I just think that people that have done a certain amount for a club should be given a certain amount of grace. Yeah. And I think we've seen with United have been a perfect prover of this in recent years, that like, it's all very well deciding you've got to get rid of your manager because he's crap. But if there's not someone else good to get in, then what's the point? Like, United got rid of Ollie in the middle of the season and brought in flipping Ragnarok or whatever his name was, and flipping ended up doing even worse under him than they did under Ollie. And at a certain point, you think, well, why didn't you just stick it out until the end of the year and have an actual plan in place? So I think for Liverpool, they've got a bigger decision to make. For me, they must be thinking, what are we doing in the next 5 to 10 years? That's how clubs have to think if you want to be able to continue to maintain like at the top for a while, not descend for another 20 years into the abyss. You have to think, because, and I don't want to sound like I'm bringing it back to a money conversation again, but it's only really United that can afford to just have 10 years of like chopping through managers, spending hundreds of millions of pounds every season, flopping, and still being able to get big names and big players and big managers through the door.
Hey, well, it looks like you lot could do it because you found the loopholes, haven't you, fam?
But it helped us that we were spending that money whilst at the top of the table. I guess what I'm saying with United is they've been able to get big managers and big players in, even when they'd been trash for 6 years or something, because they were still United. I know Liverpool are a big name, but I don't think that if Liverpool, got rid of Klopp on a rash one and got another manager in that didn't really know what he was doing and had this same crap aging squad, and then suddenly they finished 7th again next year, I don't think they can then just go out the next season and get the best players in Europe and the best managers just because they're Liverpool. I think it'll just be normal service resumed to where they were back before this Jurgen Klopp run, when they couldn't get no one through the door.
Liverpool's main pull is how many Champions League they've got. Besides that, they're a big European force in that sense. But when you compare them to United are like a worldwide brand. I think that's
it was just different, wasn't it? Like, if you think pre-Klopp, Liverpool weren't able to, even if they'd had the money, they have gone and got certain players. Do you know what I mean? Even now, when people are saying like will Bellingham go to Liverpool? But United was still getting big name players through the door, even when they didn't have Champions League secured next season, even when we didn't know who the manager was going to be, even when we didn't necessarily believe that things were going to get any better anytime soon. I just don't think that Liverpool are in that boat, so I don't think they can afford to get rid of Klopp without having a clear plan in place. So either they've got to ride out this 7-year curse and see if it gets better and let him try and rebuild, or they need to be patient and plan for the summer and plan for how they're gonna.
They're definitely going to need to do a rebuild job in the summer. I think they will keep Klopp, even though I believe he does need to take a lot of flack for not changing his systems and not doing a lot of different things. But finally, Patrick, we're going to move on to you for the final thoughts on Liverpool and Klopp, because it, like Tom said, it's been surprising, man.
Yeah, I mean, they're 11 points of Champions League football right now. When I saw that they were 3-0, or they lost 3-0 to Wolves, who are a team that don't score goals. Wolves are crap, with all due respect. They're not a team that you would fear. Like Wolves under Nuno, you knew he was going to get a tough game. Basically, Wolves are like the Fulham or Brentford now. They're not that team anymore. The fact that they scored 3 against Liverpool.
Sorry to cut you, but Lopetegui, though, he's a good coach, man. He
is, but it's not the same, But I wasn't surprised, and that's what I agree with what Bish says. I looked at it and I was surprised, but then I was surprised that I wasn't surprised. It's just mad. But I don't think, I said earlier that Liverpool should sack Klopp, and I believe on the performances they should, but realistically I know they won't, because he's got so much credit in the bank. He's done so much for that football team, but he's not a guy that can reinvent himself. He's not a Ferguson or even a Wenger, dare I say, that can basically go again and create another cycle. We've seen what happens at Mainz and at Dortmund after 7 years. He doesn't know how to reinvent, and if Liverpool want to continue and push on, it's probably time to get a new manager and start again. Because Klopp spent a lot of money, even this year. I mean, they spent 80 million on Nunes, 50 million on Diaz, 40 million on Gakpo. It's not like they're not spending money, but they're just spending it in the wrong places. And none of it makes sense. They needed a new midfield, and they're going out and spending 80 million on one striker, 50 on another. They're spending it in the wrong areas, and it doesn't make any sense, man. And the team doesn't look like they're playing for him. I don't know where they go from here. The thing is, Liverpool are good enough to turn it on and go on a run, but at the moment, I can't see it. So realistically, he should get sacked. I don't think he will. Probably at the end of the season, if things continue, they'll part ways on mutual respect and blah blah blah, just so it doesn't look bad. But yeah, man, it's not looking any better, really.
It's not. But did you want to say something, Bilal? Go on.
Do you think it's? I don't know. I wanted to get everyone else's thoughts on this. How much do you think? Because obviously this has come since the start of the season, and they've shown that they've still got something in them when they're beating the Bournemouth 9-0, they beat Rangers 7-1. How much of it do you think they're just completely deflated from chasing City all the time? Do you think they're just the same way City are kind of lost their hunger for the league or whatever it is? Do you think the Liverpool players, they might be burned out as well from the way Klopp's
I think it's a bit of a shock as well to their system that they've looked at it and thought, you know what?
They're sick and tired of losing out by 1 point and losing finals, and like they've lost 3 Champions League finals under Klopp, isn't it? Two or three?
2, I think, isn't it?
2
2,
finals.
they won 1.
They've three times they've lost the league out to City, chasing them by like margins. And do you think they've just had enough of just?
That's going to have a part to play. The fear factor's gone, man. Do you know when you're winning and winning and winning, and then you go in and you're getting tumped up left, right, and centre, and that your self-belief starts to disappear. And with that self-belief disappearing, other teams look at you and think, you know what, this ain't that same Liverpool team. We could go there and do a number on him. They've lost that fear factor, and I think that's what's key to him. I don't know what everyone else's thought is. Anyone else got a touch on that before we wrap it up?
Yeah, do you know, I was going to say, though, like, I just think that ultimately we have to look at it and say, the players just ain't good enough. Gakpo doesn't look good enough. Nunes doesn't look like he can deliver at the same level as someone like Mane. You've got VVD. He's now getting a bit injury. Gomez, not good enough. You've got Trent. Going forward, looks good, but he always looks like he can be exposed at the back. Andy Robertson looks serviceable. Fabinho doesn't look good enough anymore. So you have to put it down to the quality of the team is just not good enough. But I put nearly all the blame, if not all the blame, on Klopp. I think Klopp is absolutely out of his depth. I don't think he's good enough. And listen, he's done well for the last 7 years previously, but like Wenger, times come to an end, man. Like things come to an end. And if Liverpool fans, the reason why I don't comment too much on it is because Liverpool fans are in exactly the same place where Arsenal were a few seasons ago. They don't know whether to keep him. The fans, some are in, some are Klopp in, some are Klopp out. We went through it. Arsene Wenger in, Arsene Wenger out. It's so I think the fans themselves need to like get a grip. They need to figure out what they want to do. If they want to back him, then concentrate on the owners. If they don't want to back him, then they're going to do what they need to do in it. But for me, I think it's all on Klopp. And I keep asking these questions and I get no answers. I've never heard a fan base blame their number 2 for the demise. I actually think that, and that's why I don't really comment on Liverpool. They're pathetic. They keep failing.
Wow.
Last week it was because of their fitness program. The guy that does their fitness, he's the one that's got too much control. They're pathetic. It's actually ridiculous. They're base, yeah. They make up these stupid ideas in their head that everybody hates them. They're like the most ridiculous family that pretend that everybody hates them, when in truth, nobody cares about them. I actually couldn't care less about them. But they keep doing this to themselves. So until they get a grip and figure out who they want to back, there's no point me as a rival fan getting involved because they don't know what they want to do, but they just keep pretending that Pep Linders and now this fitness guy is the reason why they are struggling. So that is why I keep saying, Klopp, man, Klopp out, Klopp in, Klopp out.
Oh, man.
They'll end up sacking Klopp and getting Gerrard in, and it's all going to be a madness. I'm telling you, I could just see it, bro, in the stars. But look, people, we have come to the end of the show. It's been 1 hour, 25 minutes nearly. Obviously, it has been a long one because you can see
Casemiro's red card. What's going on here, bro?
Bro, do you want to sit here all night, fam?
I can't eat my dinner, bro. I ain't gonna lie to you.
All I know is, let me talk about Casemiro for a second, yeah? I'm glad he got that red card. You can't be choking man out on the pitch like that. I'm thinking you can get away with it.
I did the exact same thing to Fred. And the same phase of play right there.
Do you know what? It's good job you brought that up. I totally forgot about it. But look, 3 games out now, quickly. 3 games out now, yeah, and we're gonna see what United are made of in the middle of the park when they got McTominay and Fred back in there. But that Sabitzer looks like a decent signing for you, so it's not all doom and gloom. But look, we will touch on different bits and bobs on the rest of on the next Premier League Unpacked. Obviously, is getting a little bit too late now. Episode 35 is done. As you can see, we're trying to level up all the time with the show. Bring this. This is now a set guest now. These are all set. All their details are down in the description below. Make sure you go and subscribe to them. The names are on the screen. And just support the show, support the people, them, because we all need to grow and we all want to grow together. Big up to everybody in the chat. Make sure you like this video, subscribe if you're new people, and peace and love. We'll see you on the next one.
Peace.